When you look at a map of almost any major American city, you see the exact same thing: geometry, order, the grid. Cities like Chicago, New York, and Phoenix were mathematically engineered to make sense. Their streets run in perfectly straight lines, intersecting at perfect 90-degree angles. This grid system is the ultimate symbol of American expansion: efficient, predictable, and designed heavily around the movement of the automobile. But if you look at a map of downtown Boston, that logic completely disappears. It looks less like an engineered city and more like someone threw a plate of spaghetti at a wall. Streets twist and turn randomly, ending abruptly, or colliding at bizarre, dangerous angles. There is an old popular American myth that Boston's streets were paved over wandering cowpaths. While that is mostly a legend, the reality of this chaotic layout makes Boston feel like the exact opposite of an American city. It feels like a European accident dropped onto the East Coast. And for a driver, it is an absolute nightmare. To understand why Boston rejects the American grid, you have to look at when and where it was built. Boston was founded in 1630. That is more than 250 years before the invention of the automobile. The original city was built on a tiny, rugged peninsula completely surrounded by water and dominated by steep hills. The streets weren't planned. They evolved organically around the natural topography and old property lines. Because of this, Boston was forced to develop on a strictly human scale. It was a city built for boots, horses, and carts. The narrow, winding streets naturally forced traffic to slow down, creating tight-knit, walkable neighborhoods where residential buildings sit flush against the sidewalk. For centuries, this worked, but then came the 1950s. The post-World War II era brought an absolute obsession with the automobile. The American government believed that the future of the country relied on massive interstate highways. Urban planners looked at Boston's narrow, historic streets and saw a problem that needed to be fixed with concrete. They decided that to save the city from traffic congestion, they had to run a massive, high-speed highway directly through its heart. This decision would become one of the most catastrophic urban planning mistakes in American history. They built the Central Artery, also known as Interstate 93. But because the city was already densely packed, they couldn't just build it on the ground. They built it directly overhead. It was a massive, ugly, green-painted, elevated steel structure carrying 200,000 cars a day over the heads of the citizens. The Central Artery acted like a massive physical wall. It completely severed the historic North End neighborhood from the rest of downtown. It cut off the city from its own historic waterfront. The space beneath the highway became a dark, noisy, polluted wasteland of shadow and parking lots. It was brutalist infrastructure, forcing its way into a delicate, historic fabric. And the worst part? Just like the Katy Freeway in Houston, the Central Artery didn't even solve the traffic. Designed for 75,000 vehicles a day, it was soon carrying nearly 3 times that amount. Traffic was stalled for hours. The elevated highway was rusting, congested, and slowly killing the city beneath it. Boston realized they had to undo the mistake. Houston's answer to bad traffic was to widen the highway and destroy more neighborhoods. Boston's answer was completely different and bordering on insanity. In the 1990s, they launched the Big Dig. The plan was to take the entire 6-lane elevated highway and bury it deep underground in a massive tunnel system and then tear down the ugly steel structure above. But there was a catch. They had to dig these massive tunnels directly underneath the existing crumbling highway while keeping all 200,000 cars moving every single day. Engineers compared it to performing open-heart surgery on a patient while they are running a marathon. It was the most technologically challenging infrastructure project in American history. And financially, it was a catastrophe. Originally estimated to cost $2.8 billion, the The project suffered from massive delays, severe leaks, criminal investigations, and fatal accidents. By the time the debt and interest are fully paid off, the total cost of the Big Dig is estimated to be over $22 billion. It remains the most expensive highway project ever undertaken. But despite the staggering cost and the decades of construction nightmare, something truly remarkable happened when it was finally finished. The old rusty elevated highway was torn down, and instead of selling that incredibly valuable downtown real estate to commercial developers, Boston did the unthinkable. They turned the entire footprint of the old highway into a continuous 1.5-mile-long public park known as the Rose Kennedy Greenway. They took a space completely surrendered to cars and gave it back to human beings. Today, the neighborhoods that were divided for 50 years are reconnected. People can walk seamlessly from downtown directly to the waterfront. The air is cleaner. The property values skyrocketed, and the wound that was sliced into the city was finally healed. Houston shows us the catastrophic results of expanding infrastructure infinitely for the automobile. But Boston shows us something different. The Big Dig is proof that past mistakes are not permanent. It proves that American cities do not have to be paralyzed by concrete. It is incredibly expensive and politically exhausting, but it is possible to bury the damage, heal the grid, and build a city for people once again. Thank you for watching CityXplain. If you want to support our deep dives into urban planning, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you in the next city.